What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Dimitri's Desk. This is episode 7. Today is July 29th. And here's what's going on in the market. Here's our agenda for this episode. As always, we're going to run through the price action from the previous week. We're going to take a look at the most important charts. We're going to see where things are now and where they might be heading. Last week, we had a light fundamental week. We didn't have that many news coming out, especially after all the Libra and Facebook fiasco. So things are developing in an interesting way from a volume standpoint and price action standpoint when it comes to Bitcoin and the overall market cap. So we're going to look at the relationship there as well. So let's jump into it. All right, and as always, we're going to start with IOST USD daily chart. As you can see from the last time, we had quite a bit of a bounce. We did make that low around 61.65, and from there on, we essentially experienced price appreciation. So we are actually up over 50% from that bottom now. Things are looking better. Looking at the RSI, looks like we made that cross from 30, and that was confirmed and essentially caused the liftoff in price. We have OBV that's reversing as well, showing solid volume in terms of buying. Things are looking up. So we're currently at this specific moment where we have a penny as the main price that we're all watching to cross and essentially get rid of as the resistance level. Right now, it is still acting as a resistance level. As you can see, we spiked up a little bit, a couple times, and tested that zone, but we haven't really had that close that we're looking for on a daily basis above a penny that would show us further price appreciation for IOST USD. Once we break above a penny and then we test that as a support, that will show more convictions where we can come back into that same range that we've been working with between a penny and a half. But until then, this is what I see right now for IOST USD. Interesting point also, we discussed on our channel in Telegram about the volume for IOST. I use specifically Huobi as my price chart because that's where the most of the volume comes from for IOST. And I feel like it gives enough data for me to work with rather than using an exchange that has low volume in terms of trading for IOST. For example, Binance was brought up in the channel where the volumes were looking low for that exchange in terms of trading IOST. And, it kind of makes sense because things with Binance in terms of them pulling out of US, and some people are concerned with certain tokens being available to US clients, that may cause low trading volume for IOST. Also, keep in mind, Huobi does offer leverage for IOST that can also contribute to the trading volume that we see that's a bit, essentially inflated from Huobi's side. So this is what we're looking at right now for IOST. Definitely an interesting development. Glad to see that bounce. We'll see if we can continue that. And for BTC USD, we see something different in comparison to other coins. From last week, looks like we consolidated. We closed the week 10% down. We had Libra fundamentals in play a couple weeks ago. It was more of a case where you buy the rumor and sell the news after the news were done. Looks like we dropped off quite a bit. We've talked about this multiple times on previous episodes. So we can take a look that we have quite a bit of sideways movement where we're still trying to establish that 10K as being the support where the bulls had trouble holding and we're lingering around below 10K where it's, we went down as low as 9 and then came up and tried to test that 10 again, but nothing has really formalized into penetrating that level and establishing a clear trend to the upside again. Now, looking at the RSI, OBV, looks like things are slowing down. Interesting thing that I've noticed, looking at the weekly chart for BTC USD, it looks like we did cross that RSI to the downside below 70, which indicates slowdown in momentum. It's essentially a bearish indication. We're moving lower. OBV is moving sideways. Looks like there's that battle between the bulls and the bears to try to decide the next move for BTC. Now, if we can get that close above 10K, great. Then we can challenge the 13K to the upside. But now, at the moment, looks like we're at the big decision point for BTC USD on where it's going to go short term, because if we do continue to break that 9K, we're looking at 7K, 7.5K as the next support before we start getting another attempts at picking it up to go higher. So it is important to keep this in mind as you're looking at it. Also, later on in this episode, I will talk about BTC dominance and the overall market cap and the interesting development there. But this is what's going on right now in BTC USD, and this is where I see things are. All right, and next up, ETH USD. Not much of development here as well. Looks like we're in this stalemate between buyers and sellers. We're moving sideways. Not much of a recovery that we've seen last week from ETH USD as well. Just like BTC, looks like things are looking sideways, where the direction still has to be decided. Now we're looking at RSI moving sideways. We have OBV moving sideways. Things are not looking too exciting for ETH USD in terms of potential trading. We're still waiting for a confirmation on a direction. Now going into EOS USD, where we can see a recovery of about 40% from the bottom that we made, is a good sign. We had that cross on RSI where we went above 30 and continued to go higher. Is a good momentum sign for EOS compared to other coins. So we're still not in the best technical environment for EOS USD to go higher, but it is showing a bit of conviction where we made a temporary bottom and essentially recovered 50% from that. Now we're sitting about 30% from that bottom, and we'll see how that's going to continue, because we did have that consolidation here, which is caused a lot of spikes in the range where the bulls and bears were trying to decide on the direction for this, and obviously the direction was decided to downside. And now we are here. So right now I'm looking at another big resistance level of $5 that we need to penetrate before we really start looking at higher tops for EOS USD. Interesting development that happened also for Tron USD, where we had actually fundamental news in play last week. That was probably the only biggest highlight that people were really focusing on, where we had Justin Sun scheduled to have that lunch with Warren Buffett, but knowing Justin Sun, things didn't turn out the way he describes them. We did have a pushback for the lunch that he was supposed to have with Warren, which essentially resulted in quite a bit of price depreciation for Tron, to say the least. So that was one of the coins that was hit the most for the past week in terms of price action because of that fundamental play. Nobody really knows if that lunch is going to happen, when it's going to happen. There's things in terms of Justin being held up by authorities in China for things that they accuse him of doing. There's a lot of things that are going on with that. So I feel like a lot of people are trying to hedge their risk for Tron with having unclear fundamental news. And lastly, let's take a look at market cap and BTC dominance. Now, everybody's asking this question: when is the alt season coming? Is it coming? How can we find out if it's there? Well, we use this chart to identify a trigger for an alt season, for a possibility of an alt season. So we're looking at BTC as being the yellow, and then blue being the total market cap of crypto. So we've identified before on a weekly chart where we saw a divergence, where BTC dominance was growing, market cap was dropping. Easy, right? We know the rotation is happening from alts into BTC. Now, on a daily chart, looking at this for the past week, we saw something different. We saw BTC dominance actually falling while the market cap was picking up. This is where we saw a lot of alts were actually holding up, if not gaining momentum in terms of price actions and market cap growing. We saw rotation in the total market cap where certain coins, like for example IOST, did come back to that top 50 coins in CMC. So we're looking at this right now where we still see a bit of a drop off in terms of market cap for the total crypto after that pop, but it is important to understand that we're seeing something very interesting for the BTC dominance dropping off and then having the total market cap do the opposite for just even a moment. That just triggers a different sentiment that's going on right now in the market in comparison, BTC and alts. So I'm watching this very carefully to see how that develops this week. We'll see if we continue to develop that weak BTC dominance and then strong market cap appreciation, and how altcoins will react to that. But until then, we can't certainly say that it is the alt season or here it is, it's coming right now. We still need more conviction for that. So with that being said, guys, thanks for tuning for another episode. As always, please leave any type of feedback you have, any charts that you're looking at, or if you would like me to look at any specific pairs. Always appreciate that. And as always, happy trading.